All right, we're back for another episode of Writers Talking, and I've been looking forward to this episode because this lady and I have had a couple of interactions on Twitter, and then I read two of her books, which really blew me away for reasons we're about to get into. She is the author of Unfinished Business, Hidden Obsession 1 and 2. She is the one and only Mrs. Natasha Carter.
Hi.
It's good to have you on.
Good to be here.
So, I always like to start these chats right at the beginning. So, who was Natasha before she became a writer?
Oh gosh. Well, let's see. I grew up in a small town.
Hmm.
I went to college. I got a degree in psychology. Then I had an accidental pregnancy and eventually became a single mom,
Hmm.
2 jobs until I met my husband. And then I was working in social services. And then I had my second child. And after that, something kind of just flipped. And I was like, I always wanted to write. Why?
Hmm.
And so in 2019, I just started randomly with a blog,
Yeah.
my own, just whatever. I just threw some stuff out there. And then I found an online magazine called Elephant Journal. And I
Mm.
some of my stuff to them and they loved it and they promoted it. And that really gave me like that validation I needed to keep going, I
Yeah.
think. And I dabbled in poetry a little bit, but my writing was very like it was like personal essays, blogs, very nonfiction.
Yeah.
And then on Twitter,
Hmm.
I had kind of formed some friendships with other writers and connected to one that was um, an erotic author,
Yeah.
and he dared me to write a scene,
Oh.
and I was like, I can't do that. And then I finally was just like, fine, I'll try it. And it surprised me how natural it came to me and how fun it was, and
Hmm.
that scene that I was dared to write just kept going, and it became a book. And so zero plan of writing a book of that nature, and it just happened.
Hmm.
Oh,
Wow. I always remember for me when I first started writing, it was as a kid, and I'd gone to stay with my gran for I think the school holidays because it was my gran and my aunt who lived with her as her carer, and they always used to watch all the soap operas on TV. I don't know what ones are over there in the US, but in the UK, it was back then. It was something like 2 hours of hell for me because I couldn't stand the programs. And my aunt gave me a pad and a pen and said, "Shut up and write a story," and that's how it started for me. But that's a different story from what I'm used to hearing. I've never heard anyone that's been dared to write it before. Was it thrilling to do it?
was well, and like you, I've been dabbling. I've been writing since I was a kid. I loved reading, absolutely
Hmm.
loved it. And I started writing, and I remember I was I was like sixth grade, seventh grade. I'm going to be a writer one day.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm going to write books. I'm going to do this. And I don't know what happened to that confidence of like, people say, oh, you'll never make this. You need to do something practical. Oh, no, you should do this. Everybody's opinions get in your head, and you're like, okay. And
Yeah.
then I ended up, I only took like one creative writing class in college, even though it was like my passion.
Hmm.
And partly that fear, and this is something that I think holds a lot of people back from doing what they want to do, is what if I'm not good at that one thing that I love so much?
Yeah.
What if I'm bad at it? What if nobody likes it? And then it's like that fear of even getting started, that because it means so much to you.
Yes.
But I
Yeah.
don't, I just one day was like, you know what, fuck it. Oh,
So I love that. Who are your influences? Do you have any literary influences?
I like I have a few of my favorite authors that I would say I read everything they've ever written.
Mm-hmm.
Dean Koontz was one
Ah, yes.
when
Yeah.
I was like teenager. I think I own every book he ever wrote. Like
Mm.
that.
Well, I've got to ask what your favorite one is now you've said that name.
Yeah. Yeah,
What?
that and Lisa Gardner. I absolutely love her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've read her, but she's really good at writing those twists that I don't see coming, which I love to try to write myself.
You have. We'll get to that, but you have. Quickly, what's your favorite Dean Koontz book? Do you have one?
Oh yeah, of course I do. Watchers.
Yes. Great, great book.
Oh, and I really liked Lightning also.
Mm.
That one was really good. And then there was one that was kind of different that you don't hear a lot of other people like, but what was it? I can't even think of the name now. Maybe it was TikTok.
Yes, I think I know. Yeah, yeah, yes, right, yeah. Mr. I forget now. But yeah, something like that. I know what you're talking about though. But yeah, what Dean Koontz was always one of my favorites growing up. I remember his books very well. Yeah, cool. That's a great couple of influences there. So, regarding your writing, do you like to outline first, or do you just pants it like other authors?
I'm a pantser.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I didn't even know where I was gonna have book 2 in my series go, and I decided it was gonna be a series.
Mm.
I just was like, what? I don't know what it's done. I'm
So
gonna
did
make, and
did
I
you?
don't have no clue where I'm going with book 3 yet.
Oh. So do you have a primary scene you start off with, or is it? Or do you have one scene and then you work around it?
So so I have like ideas
Mm-hmm.
head of where it might go, but I don't like to hold myself to that.
Mm.
I feel like where the magic happens is when you're writing and you get to that flow state
Yeah.
where conscious thought just kind of disappears and your fingers are just flowing and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you don't even remember.
Yeah.
And even when you read it, you're like, okay.
Mm.
So that is where I always seek to go with my.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't like to have a big plan because it's going to change and things are going to happen while I'm writing that I didn't even think about or dream beforehand. So
Yeah. I've found that with my writing, I like to do an outline, but I like to do it very loosely so that if an idea comes along of a scene that I want to incorporate, I I can do that because it's not set in stone. And one thing I found with outlines in the past is that a lot of it doesn't make it into the books because the story just goes its own way, whether you want it to or not. And it's such a fascinating thing to watch happen in the creative process.
yeah. Well, even with this book I'm working on right now, because I haven't started reading this, I would love to. I'm itching to,
Mm.
but I have a book that's three quarters of the way done. That I'm like I promised myself I would finish it first. We'll see how well. Yeah.
So that brings me on to your first release then, and I'm going to share the screen so that people know what I'm talking about. Where are we? Yes, here we are. Your first novel, Unfinished Business, which has got a very good rating on Amazon. What was the genesis of this book?
What was the what?
The genesis of this book, is it from what we talked about earlier, where you were dared to write this scene?
Yep, this was where that book was born. It was born in the scene that I was dared to write, and
Mm-hmm.
then just kept going.
And how long did it take you to write it?
But only like 7 months, probably, and
That's
that's what. So there was so much story. It was just bursting out of me.
mm-hmm.
The longest was editing it.
Oh god, I hate the editing process. But yeah, I feel you on that one. All right. And what else do you remember about this? Do you remember what was it? What did it feel like when it first came out? Were you sort of watching the ratings and sales nervously, or did you sort of ignore it for a while?
Oh God, how could you ignore it?
Mm.
That's so checking it. I was obsessed with checking my Amazon reviews and Goodreads. I don't look at Goodreads anymore at all now.
Mm.
I can't.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like Goodreads, and it's not hard to see why. I've seen some of the comments that people put on in their reviews, and they're very unkind.
Well, I think because on Amazon you have to be a purchaser usually,
Yeah.
or you have to use your real account. You can't make fake accounts to leave bad reviews. I had somebody leave a bunch of phony reviews on one of my books on Goodreads, and I think most of them got taken down, but I could tell that was the same person doing it, or at least maybe it was a group of people, but it was really horrible. And
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't look at Goodreads anymore because I don't want to see stuff like that. That's clearly not, because I could tell that they hadn't even read the whole book
Mm.
with some of the stuff they said, and there was just attacks on me as a person, other than my writing. So
Yeah, I don't like stuff like that. I think it's a terrible thing to do. So then we move on to one of the reasons we're talking now, of course, and that is Hidden Obsession Part 1.
yes.
Now, I've read it's a tricky part talking about thrillers because I don't like to spoil books at all. So I'm going to talk about these plot points very vaguely. But how did this one first come about?
Gosh, it was actually really strange. I was just like sitting by the water, and it was just like one line that kept kind of repeating itself in my head. And I was like, all right, I guess I gotta write this down. And then as I wrote it down, then it just kind of started to slowly take shape. And then I remember it being like that when I decided it was going to be a series and that I wanted to go further with Raina.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I was just helping my mom paint her house and get ready to sell it. And it's the answers always come when the mind's quiet, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of doing this like remedial work, and then I just like had this idea of like, okay, I could go this way, and I could go this, and I could have her become something beyond just a police detective. And there's thoughts of going even further than the 3-book series. I'll be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
because I could do spin-offs. I'm trying to think of. Okay, I don't know if you know Kay Hooper.
No.
So she has like this detective series where the FBI agents have psychic abilities.
No, I've not. I don't know that one, but go on.
You would probably like it.
Okay.
But she kind of spins off with certain characters in the main books, and they have like their own side stories. And I thought that was really cool, and I think Lisa Gardner kind of does that too with like her Detective D.D. Warren series, and
Mm-hmm.
then some of the characters are the same as in some of the other books, and I'm like kind of getting this bigger picture that I may
Yeah.
create, but I'm not going to promise anything because my ADHD may not allow it. But I have an idea of going further with this.
Hmm. The first thing that struck me about your main character is that she is carrying some serious emotional baggage. And that kind of relatability is what I think draws people into books, because I think a perfect character you can't get in with them straight away. And that was one of the things I liked, that she does her job, which by all accounts, police work is a very tough job, especially in this day and age. But to do it with what she's got in tow, that must have been really interesting to write about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that my background in psychology
Mm.
plays a lot into that in these
Yeah.
characters that are they're damaged, but I think the main point I'm trying to show is that they're resilient
Yes.
and that they carry through, and that you don't have to be defeated by the things that break you.
Hmm. And again, without wanting to spoil the plot, and I'll ask this question carefully, you actually present a plot element in this book which I've not seen one done before, and that is, and I won't spoil this, a character who has a secret OnlyFans account. Now, that's the first time I've seen anyone write about it, and I thought, well, that's an interesting aspect to put into it as well. Without going into spoilers, how did you come about that? Because I've noticed that more and more women, in particular on Twitter, have got one, and it's certainly surged in popularity in recent years.
You know, OnlyFans reached out to me and tried to recruit me, and I think that's kind of where that idea came from. I mean, I was like, I can't do OnlyFans. Like,
Wow! I was not
oh,
wow.
I do OnlyFans too. It's not for porn. And I was like, I think it was during that time they were trying to rebrand a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I can't. The stigma is attached.
Yes.
I'd be like, go to my OnlyFans. It's for writing. People would be like,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
I have the email. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember reading about it because obviously we had the lockdowns here during the pandemic, and there was some women who had turned to using OnlyFans to pay the bills, and there was one woman in particular who said she found it both strange and fascinating that men were willing to pay money for her to take her clothes off. And as I said, it's grown in popularity in the years, but I've never seen it used in fictional setting until now. So it's fascinating to um, hear how that came into your life. I've never known them to reach out to anyone before.
Yeah. I was surprising to me. I was like, how did they even get my email?
Yeah. So obviously, it's not only a psychological thriller. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also plenty of police work and detective work going into this. And I know that you said that you're a pantser.
Yeah.
There must have been some plotting involved in this. Is that fair to say? None whatsoever. Because again, going back to the plot, you had several twists and turns in this one, and twice I thought I had figured out who it was. And again, I'm not spoiling it here for anyone, but yeah, you pulled the rug from under me at the end,
Good.
and yeah, it that one caught me off guard. So, do you not have notes or anything written down anywhere for this? It's all in your head. That
Yeah.
is very nice.
Like I'll have like maybe I could do this or maybe I could do that, kind of like pinging back and forth in my mind.
Yeah.
And like sometimes I'll get stuck, go for a walk, be like, gosh, I'm not sure where to go from here. And then I'll just sit down to write and it'll just figure itself out.
Hmm. There must be long spells where you're just sitting thinking
Mhm.
about the plots over and over in your head. I mean, like I said, I write down a lot, and my outlines, some of them could be quite long, but again, to pants a book like this where you caught me out twice. Well played. So in
That
that,
makes
sorry, say that again.
that makes me so happy.
Yeah, because I remember when we messaged about it, one of the first things you asked me was, "Did you figure it out?" And no, I was completely fooled. Uh, so yeah.
We have a visitor.
Okay. Hello. Um, and then of course we go straight into part two, which now this one I feel this was a different beast to part one a little, because it was more about Raina picking herself up, getting back on her feet, recovering, and going after the culprit of the
Yeah.
first book. That's not spoiler or not. This one felt very different to me, because it was not so much a thriller and a police story, but it was also a real character study, I found,
Yeah.
especially about what makes certain individuals tick. Um, how Talk to me about this one's origin, because it must have been so weird. I don't want to say plotting it out, but figuring it out in your head.
Well, I mean, she couldn't just carry on with the way book one ended.
Hmm.
So there needed to be something to kind of help her.
Yeah.
So that's where the thought of her going to therapy and rehab and stuff. Because what happened in book one would could potentially break
Yes.
and like completely. Um so like I said, it goes back to that resilience piece.
Yes.
I am always trying to, horrible things happen to people all the time, every
Hmm.
day. And not everybody has the strength to pull themselves back together.
No.
But I'm trying to kind of show how you can
Hmm.
in some ways. You know.
Yeah, yeah, because again, as much the continued hunt
Hmm.
um, was certainly one aspect I was keeping track of, but it was also interesting because you, through several twists and turns, which again I'm trying to pose these questions without doing spoilers, but when the final revelation came, I wasn't just surprised. I literally sat there reading this and went, "What the fuck?" Oh, sorry. But yeah, because see, I'm tripping over myself not to spoil things, but the final revelation, that was a devious scene. Um,
Brutal.
yeah, and again, I can't, I don't want to spoil it without, oh, sorry, spoil it, but what can you say about plotting it to that climactic moment? Because yeah, again, you caught me well and truly off guard.
Uh,
It's a tricky question, isn't it? Because again, I don't like to spoil someone's work.
and I don't want to give away anything to
Mm,
read yet because I want to be able to have the rug pulled out from under them like you were.
yeah. All right. Well, in that case, we'll leave book two then. So I'm curious, how is book three coming along? Because I'm still impressed that you write these without plotting anything or writing anything down. Your head must be sort of constantly on the go.
Yes,
With
it's a scary place.
mm,
But I haven't started book three yet.
okay, but it's in your head though, at least.
Parts of it, yeah. I have ideas. I really want to get started, but I'm trying to finish Mirror Mirror on the Wall, um, which I'm hoping to release this summer.
What can you tell me about that?
So that one, the kind of the premise that I'm trying to show is how an abusive relationship out sorry
All right.
an abusive relationship can be without it being physical. Like I'm trying to
Mm,
show the psychological aspects
yeah.
of an abusive relationship without the physical violence.
Hmm.
And then there's obviously going to be some twists and stuff because I can't not do that. But I don't want
Yeah.
to.
Well, it's one thing I've learned, that there's definitely going to be twists in your books, and it's not very often that I get caught off guard because, well, again, you've done it so many times to me now that
But now you're going to be looking for it, and you're going to
yeah,
be.
I probably will be, but um, I don't know if I could say this one scene, but there was one moment in Hidden Obsession 2 where a character comes over for a visit and then it morphs into something else completely. I don't know if you're guessing what I'm talking about
Yeah.
there. And I'm sitting there going, so you weave these things in so well that yeah, you have caught me out, and it's not often that happens during when I'm reading something.
And there's
Um,
been for that. Like when you first read that scene, you're like, whoa, that came out of left field. What is the point of that? Like,
yeah,
but then it ties into everything else.
yes,
So
yeah. So it's yeah, it's hard to say without spoiling the book, but yeah, I've been caught out a few times now with that series. So when book 3 comes out, I'll be waiting.
I actually I have a very ambitious timeline for it, I guess,
Okay.
which I probably won't meet, but I wanted to get it out by December.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I haven't started. But see, you never know.
Oh no. So one last question before we sort of finish off with my usual,
Okay.
and that is the audiobooks. Now, the topic of using virtual voice for audiobooks, I've heard it mentioned before, but you're the first person I know that's actually used it. And when I've participated in discussions with it with other authors, it's a very unpopular subject. And obviously, I'm completely aware of AI, of how it's changing the landscape and all that, and it's become very good, scarily quick with certain things in the creative field. So I say certain things, and I've seen discussions where it's robbing art, voiceover writers of work, etc., etc., etc. And I listened to a sample of this book before this interview, and if this was an AI voice, there is literally no evidence of it. You could listen to this and you'd think you were actually listening to a human audio narrated book. So I'm curious, what made you use this facility as an author? Because I only got an email about this earlier this week, and obviously I'm in the UK, and the Hidden Obsession audiobooks and of course your other audiobooks are not available on on audible.co.uk, just .com. So what brought this about for you?
Well, I was just looking on my bookshelf on Amazon, and it said it was just like a free program that popped up and said, "You want to try? Like, you want to put your book on Audible?" And then it gives different voices that you can use. So I picked one that I thought sounded more like the character,
Mm-hmm.
the main character anyway. And I just, I've been wanting to put my books in audio format. My readers have been asking me, and it just sounded so overwhelming, daunting to pay for it. Like hundreds and hundreds of dollars that it's like, I don't know if it's worth it for me as an independent author to pay.
Mm.
And when would I ever recoup that money? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I just was like, well, I'll just try it and see and throw it out there and see what people think. And if they hate it, then, I'll do something else. But people have seemed to like it so far. And I know and I don't think it's a program that's available for everybody.
Mm.
It seems to be a beta testing program that Amazon's doing for their authors. So I don't know. I guess I didn't have a lot of qualms against it because it was super easy and free for me.
Yeah. Well, again, like I said, I listened to it, and you wouldn't think it was AI from the sample anyway. So I was quite shocked of how scarily good it was, because I mean, one of the I can't remember who it was, but someone had got an AI voice narrating part of their work, and they'd chosen the voice of Nicolas Cage for it. And I listened to it, and you could hear the imperfections in it, but it was still good.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a contentious issue for some, but well, if it works for you, okay. It's one of those things where it's going to be each to their own going forward, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to hire a narrator. I wanted to hire three for unfinished business for the three main characters,
Mm.
the voices, and then I was talking to someone, and it just was so overwhelmingly expensive. It's not like a traditional author who has that paid for by their publishing company, you know. And then then I heard that some of the other ones, other options, just weren't as good.
Mm.
The ones that were, less expensive. And I was like, everyone was like, do it yourself, read it yourself. And but don't, then I would need equipment and
Yeah, I
like so
I
over.
I briefly looked into trying to narrate one of my books in the dim and distant past, and I mean, this microphone I've got here is a USB microphone. The first thing they say is don't use USB microphones because you get that in
Yeah.
the background. So to get a condenser microphone, the amp, the cables, the soundproofing, because you can't just record anywhere. It was looking at hundreds of pounds just to even try that. And of course, then thinking to myself, do I even have the voice for this? I don't think I do. I don't know. Which is why I never bothered with it in the end, because I thought it was just too much of a potential financial uh, negative return on investment, I suppose you could say. So yeah, that's been interesting to know, because at the moment, I haven't done an audio book for one of my works in a little while, because the last experience was a very contentious one for me, but that's a story in itself. But we'll finish off now with my favorite part of this. Obviously, as those who watch the show know, I was a big fan of Inside the Actors Studio. And what James Lipton, who's now no longer with us, liked to finish off on was the famous pivot questionnaire. So, Natasha, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite word, or the favorite the word I use the most.
Just your favorite word.
Gosh, I don't know. It's probably fuck.
Okay. What is your least favorite word?
Mm. I don't know if I have a least favorite word. Oh, I feel like it's not moist, but other people hate that word. But there's a word that has that same kind of to me, but I can't think of it right now.
That's okay. I'll leave that one there. Um, what turns you on? Can be anything. Nothing like that, I mean, but just uh, anything that gets you going, excites you.
What excites me? Um, Fun. I don't know. Writing.
There we go. What turns you off?
Um, Probably just like unnecessary cruelty.
Okay. You've probably answered this one, but what is your favorite curse word?
Right. I already.
Yeah. All right. What sound or noise do you like?
What was that?
What sound or noise do you like?
What sound?
Hmm.
Oh, I love thunderstorms.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Like fingernails on a chalkboard.
Good one. What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
Hmm. I'm already kind of attempting my profession. Hmm, like I think that I chose to write a detective series because I've always kind of like wanted to be a detective.
Okay.
Maybe I remember when I first went into studying psychology, I wanted to study forensic psychology
Ah.
and like be an FBI profiler. I don't know if you remember that show on TV many, many years ago. It was called Profiler. I thought it was so cool.
Mm-hmm. What profession other than yours would you not like to attempt?
Gosh, there's like a million I wouldn't want to do. Uh, Professional athlete. I
Fair
would.
enough. And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
What would? I'm sorry. I'm hearing
Oh,
impaired.
oh, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Good job.
I love it. Right, ladies and gentlemen, you can find all of Natasha's works on Amazon and, of course, Audible. I highly advise you check them out if you like twists and turns and having the rug pulled on you at the end. Natasha, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate the time you've given me, and good luck going forward.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, take care and see you all soon. Take care for now.